Oh, stop it.
We always match.
Sorry, just
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Representative Jennifer Balcom. I'm one of the primary sponsors of the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, HB 574. I want to say, just before we get started, that this bill is very important. It talks about how we are being fair in women's sports, and that because girl athletes are important and they deserve safe opportunity and rights to compete in a level playing field. With that, I'm going to start with our guests to be able to talk. First off, I'd like to introduce Riley Gaines. She is the Stand with Women spokeswoman for Independent Women's Forum and is a C4 sister organization for Independent Women's Voice. She is a recent graduate from University of Kentucky, where she was a 12-time All-American swimmer. At the 2022 NCAA Division I Women's Swimming and Diving Champion, Riley was forced to compete against a biological male swimmer. Riley, would you like to say?
Of course. Thank you. A little bit of background about myself and really how I got here, why I'm in front of you guys. I started swimming when I was 4. I'm 22 now, so I've dedicated 18 years of my life to my sport. Of course, this means in middle school and high school, you're practicing before school, you go to school, straight after school, you go back to practice for a couple hours, you eat your dinner, do your homework, ice your shoulder, go to bed, do it all again the next day. Same thing at the collegiate level, we're practicing 6 hours a day, 3 of those hours being before 8 a.m. So it's impossible to put into words the amount of time, the sacrifices, both social, physical, emotional, that you put into your sport. That being said, my senior year last year at the University of Kentucky, I had made it my goal to win a national championship, indicating becoming the fastest female in the country in my event. About midway through my senior season, I was on track to do that, but the person who was leading the nation was a swimmer I'd never heard of before. This was, of course, the first time I became aware of a swimmer named Leah Thomas, but there was a lot of red flags. This person came out of nowhere their senior year. They were leading the nation by multiple seconds. They were ranked at the top in everything, every freestyle event, from the 100 freestyle to the mile, which is a sprint. Of course, the 100 is a sprint. The mile is long distance. And so think of your Olympic runners, your best 200-meter runners, not your best mile or your best marathon runner. But that's what we were seeing. A few days after these nation-leading times were posted, an article was posted disclosing that Leah Thomas was formerly Will Thomas and swam 3 years on the men's side at University of Pennsylvania before transitioning to the women's team and, again, dominating the field. I, of course, read this and I was shocked, but truthfully I felt a bit of relief because I was able to look up who Will Thomas was. I was curious, was this a lateral movement? To which that answer was no, this was not a lateral movement. This was a biological male who went from ranking 462nd at best among the men the year prior to now, again, dominating amongst the women. The NCAA, they saw nothing wrong with that, though. Our national championships last March, I got to personally witness and feel the effect that this infringement had on not just myself, but my teammates, my competitors, all D1 swimmers at that meet. It's impossible to speak for everyone, and I don't claim to speak for every single girl, but I can wholeheartedly attest to the tears I saw from 9th and 17th place finishers who missed out on being named an All-American by 1 place. And I can wholeheartedly attest to the extreme discomfort in the locker room when you turn around, there's a 6'4", 22-year-old biological male fully equipped with and exposing male genitalia in an area where you're undressing. And I can wholeheartedly attest to the talks and whispers and grumbles of anger and frustration from these girls who, just like myself, had dedicated their entire lives to get to that point. And I can wholeheartedly attest to the silencing and the suppression of voices that's being put in place by these universities and administrations. That first day of competition, we watched Leah Thomas swim to a national title, beating out Olympians, beating out American record holders, the most impressive female swimmers this country's ever seen, again by seconds, which in swimming, seconds is a lot. This is a sport that's measured down to the 100th of a second, so to have someone trailing by that many seconds is an anomaly, to say the least. The next day of competition was a 200 freestyle where Leah Thomas and I raced, and almost impossibly enough, it resulted in a tie. We went the exact same time down to the 100th of a second. And upon tying, we go behind the awards podium where the NCAA official looks at both Thomas and myself and says, "Great job, you guys tied, but we don't really account for ties. So Leah takes the trophy home. Riley, you go home empty-handed." And when I questioned this, I of course asked, why? I understand we tied, I understand there's one trophy, but why are you adamant on giving this trophy to Thomas? He looked at me and said, "Well, Leah has to hold the trophy for photo purposes. You can pose with this one, but you'll go home empty-handed." And that's what has thrusted me into this position. I knew the unfair competition was wrong. I knew the locker room scene was wrong. But when they had reduced everything that I had worked my entire life for down to a photo op to validate the feelings and the identity of a male, that's when I had had enough. And so what I've been doing this past year is exactly this, traveling state to state, testifying in support of these fairness in women's sports bills. That's why I'm grateful to be in North Carolina. I am so hopeful that they will do the right thing, the common sense thing. I'm honored to stand alongside these women who are so strong. It's so powerful to have women who are at the forefront of this movement. And so I'm so grateful to these sponsors and co-sponsors. And again, I'm just really hopeful, and I appreciate you guys being here and listening. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Riley, so much. I appreciate that. My next guest is Peyton McNabb. Peyton is a high school female athlete from Murphy, North Carolina, my neck of the woods, who was injured from being forced to play against a biological male in volleyball. Peyton?
Hi, my name is Peyton McNabb. I am a senior at Hiwassee Dam High School in Murphy, North Carolina. Due to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association policy allowing biological males to compete against biological females, my life has forever been changed. On September 1st, 2022, I was severely injured in a high school volleyball game by a transgender athlete on the opposing team. I suffered from a concussion and neck injury that to this day I am still recovering from. Other injuries I still suffer from today include impaired vision, partial paralysis on my right side, constant headaches, as well as anxiety and depression. I was unable to play the rest of my last volleyball season, and although I am currently playing softball, I am not able to perform as well as I know I have in the past because of the injury. My ability to learn, retain, comprehend has also been impaired, and I require accommodations at school for testing because of this. I could go on and on about how this incident has affected my life, but I'm not here for that, because I'm not here for me. Because for me, I know that my time playing is coming to an end. I'm here for every biological female athlete behind me. My little sister, my cousins, my teammates. Allowing biological males to compete against biological females is dangerous. I may be the first to come before you with an injury, but if this doesn't pass, I won't be the last. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association policy states that it allows participation in interscholastic athletics for all students, regardless of gender or gender identification. It is the intent that all students are able to compete on a level playing field in a safe, competitive, and friendly environment, free of discrimination. Clearly, that does not include biological female athletes. My ability to compete was taken from me. Having to play against biological males is not a level playing field and is most definitely not safe. That is why this bill is so important, and just to keep everybody safe. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak on this matter. I pray you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton, so very much. My next guest speaker would be Erin Perret. She's a representative from Wake County in House District 37, and she's one of my primary sponsors in the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. Erin. Oh, sorry. Oh, you were sorry.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I'm Erin Perret, and I represent Southern Wake County in the North Carolina House of Representatives. That's District 37. So I'm here today to express my strong support for this bill. This is a common sense bill, and I'm not just a legislator. I'm here as a mother of 2 teenage kids. Both are athletes. They play competitive sports, and my oldest is a daughter, Madison, and she actually plays competitive volleyball. I was hoping that she would be able to meet Peyton today, but she's at school, of course. So look, I'm here for her. I'm here for the other parents who have children in high school that play competitive sports. I'm here for safety. I'm here for fairness. And that's exactly what this bill is. This bill is a pro-women's sports bill. This bill is a pro-fairness bill. This bill is a pro-safety bill, and this bill is a pro-common sense bill. And that's just not me telling you that. That's the majority of North Carolinians that agree with me. It is not right to allow biological males to compete against biological females in sports. We're talking about not just participating in an activity. We are talking about competitive athletics, competition here. And that is due to the inherent biological advantage males have post the onset of puberty. So let me be clear, this bill, there's nothing in this bill that would preclude anyone from identifying. And it does not prevent anyone from playing in competitive athletics if they choose to. This just levels the playing field and makes it fair and equal for all participants. So I know as a parent of a competitive athlete that there are years of work that goes into becoming a competitive athlete. Years and years of work, years of preparation, of hard work, of perseverance, of determination, of training, and years of support from your support system. And I know that the athletes here that spoke to you this morning can attest to that, whatever that support system looks like. In my case, it's our family for my children. So I want to express again my absolute support for this, and I appreciate the leadership of Representative Balcom on this bill, and I look forward to seeing its passage in the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Perret. My next speaker or guest is Sylvia Hatchell. Coach Hatchell was the head coach of a women's basketball team at UNC Chapel Hill for over 30 years, winning an NCAA championship in 1994. She was an assistant coach for the USA's 1988 Olympic women's basketball team that won the Olympic gold medal. She has been inducted into 7 athletic Hall of Fames, including the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame and the National Coach of the Year for several years. Coach Hatchell.
Thank you for letting me be here today. I listened to all these others speak, and I speak, I guess, from a little bit of a different perspective because I did coach 45 years of basketball and then 33 at the University of North Carolina. I support transgender athletes' rights to their gender identity as they see fit and as they want it to be. However, competitive sport is one of the few places in our society where sex differences really make a difference. Those differences are, for men, greater strength, size, speed, muscle mass, men's greater hearts, lung capacity, hands, feet, and skulls. Women's greater body fat, women's and men's different distribution of body fat, and lean muscle mass, and more. The results is in performance advantages for men is almost in every sport. And trust me, it makes a huge difference. Therefore, to ensure that female athletes have access to fair and safe competition, they should not compete against trans-identified boys or trans-identified men. At any age, they should not be put in those types of situations. Separate sports categories facilitates inclusion. They have always been created to provide more people with a chance to enjoy competitive victories. Without the 2 sex categories, we would have never known about and celebrated some of the greatest female athletes of all times. These names you may remember, but by no means are limited to Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, Mary Lou Retton, or Peggy Fleming. All these ladies would have been defeated by and overshadowed by countless male players and lost in history. In 2022, the World Aquatics, the governing body for swimming, diving, and other water sports, acknowledged the differences between women and men with a rules change that excludes people who have experienced male puberty from women's events. In 2023, just a few months ago, World Athletics, which is the governing body for track and field, followed suit. In 1972, Title IX was passed. I was a sophomore in college playing sports, and I played and coached for all 50 years. We just celebrated last June 23rd, the 50th anniversary of Title IX. But we are almost in a place right now where we're going backwards, especially with a situation like this. The purpose of Title IX was to make sports fair and equal. I repeat, fair and equal. Females having to compete against transgenders is not fair and equal. Is there a place for transgenders in sports? Yes, but it's a separate category. Speaking as a coach, let me say, it's simply just not a level playing field. It's not. So I strongly urge the support for the Fairness in Women's Sports Act for the sake of fairness, safety, opportunity, and the rights of women. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Hatchell. The next guest, she's a little close to my heart. This woman watched me grow up playing basketball in my local high school. So I'd like to have Judy Stroud. She's a former player, coach, and referee. She was a player and a coach for the women's basketball team at Western Carolina University. She was a WNBA referee for 6 years. She is currently a supervisor for the ACC Women's Sports Referee. She is a member of the Western Carolina Hall of Fame, and she lives in my hometown in Henderson County. Come on up, sweet Judy.
Thanks to all of y'all for supporting this and making it hopefully come to fruition. That's what we can hope for. My name is Judy Stroud, as Jennifer had said. You can tell from my looks and everything, I've been around a little while. I actually, as Sylvia said, was a freshman in college when Title IX came about. I've been through a lot of difficult challenges and hurdles of discrimination before and especially now. Playing, coaching, administration, you wouldn't have enough time for me to explain all the things that I faced, that our teams faced. Tremendous strides have been made, yet women are at the very crossroads of possible the biggest discrimination that could ever happen. We will be discriminated against if this does not pass and go through. I'm doing this for my 4 great nieces. One is yet to be born, 2 is yet to be born, and one is 6 months and the other one's 2 years old. And I do not want them to be a part of something that they can't be proud of. You work to attain a goal, like Riley said, only to be denied. That's what I started today. Don't take my spot. In 1974, I was one of 60 women invited to try out for the World University Games. What an honor. They were going to keep 15, and that 15 would go on to possibly be the Olympic team. Of the 60, I was number 16. I was good. I felt good about what I had performed and what I'd done, but my good was just not good enough. and I was okay with that. Had number 1, number 7, number 15 been a biological male, all those years, as Riley had said, from the age of 4 to 22 for her, same for me, would have been just completely, I would have been, I just would have been devastated to not be able to do that. But, of course, I wasn't chosen. But don't get the point where the girls don't have that fair access. It's not a place for safety for them. That's the things that we need to keep in mind and at the forefront when we're doing this. And, how many parents take their children to AAU events, YBOA, soccer, volleyball? You spend entire weekends. You drop $1,000 in a weekend to go to Rock Hill, South Carolina, to play in a volleyball tournament. You're doing that at least 10 to 12 to 15 weekends a month. Then you're sending them to I don't know how many camps. You pay all this money in hopes that this child, one, will have a great time, enjoy, learn teamwork, learn a lot of great values, and hopefully possibly get a college education on a scholarship. I brought this because Title IX came into effect in 1972 when I was a freshman. This is my college grant and aid my senior year. I got $50 a quarter. Now, all the men that were playing basketball got full rides. So all I'm saying is don't take that away from the girls, from the women, because they need us. They need us to make a stand. They need us to do this for them. Do it for your nieces, for your daughters, for your granddaughters. This is not a level playing field, as Coach Hatchell said. Thank you.
All right, y'all, any questions? We're gonna open up for questions, just a couple.
You want to call?
I wanted to ask about the motivation for increasing this to college athletics as well.
What was the motivation? What was your, I'm sorry, what the motivation? Because we have women competing in all of those sports, even at the college level. Why should we stop at high school level? So I wanted to include all of it to make sure everyone was covered. There's still scholarships that they're competing for, even in the college level, to keep. Yes.
With the proposed changes to Title IX through the Biden administration, these are revived Obama-era changes to Title IX, but they go a little bit further. If the proposed rules go through and if they are actually adopted, this bill or this law, should it has to become law, will probably become their legal fire. Are you prepared for that? And what are your thoughts there?
It's proposed legislation. It is not passed yet. I believe we'll take on the fight when it gets here, but it is, again, not proposed at all. The other thing is we're not governed by them. We are not bound by them. Furthermore, I'm confident even if we adopt, they will be a challenge in court or overturned. Those proposed legislations are contrary to the intent of what Title IX was and the lower court's decisions on that matter. So I see that you'll have a lot of people standing up to prove that, just like the ones you saw here.
We have one more. You have one? Yeah.
We have also heard from some transgender students that are concerned for their safety because they play on a team with the biological sex at birth. And Coach Hatchell referenced this idea of a separate category. What does that mean? What does that look like? Is that something you all envision?
If that's something we need to add in, this bill can be changed to add that in. If that's something we see in the future, that there's we need to make that, we can do that. We can make that happen if we feel that that's the direction to go.
All right, thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, that wasn't so bad. All right, so I won't talk in here. I want to talk out in here because it's on. But but I do have just a couple of questions for you.